understanding how the other person wants to get information. It's not about me anymore. It's about how can I deliver the information? Because if we're crossing our wires and it's like me speaking French, you're speaking English, we're not communicating, we're not hearing each other. People are smart, they can make their own decision. But if they haven't even heard the message, then you've lost before you even started. That's why that number is so low. That 18% is when two personality styles match, then you have the similar values that you are making those decisions on. It makes more sense. So how do we learn how to get the rest of the other 82%? That's what I teach.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. It's Chuck Anderson here, and I've got yet another amazing guest for you today. I'm so happy to have Yvonne Silver here with me today. And let me tell you something. You're going to learn something that you probably have not heard before. And if you do anything with communication, if you do anything with sales, if you do anything with marketing, you are really going to want to lean in and listen to what we have to say today, because Yvonne has some pretty good tricks up her sleeve and some really cool things to share that are going to give you that edge in all of those areas. So Yvonne, welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here.
Well, thank you very much, Chuck. This is such a valuable podcast that you're doing for all kinds of entrepreneurs and professionals in business. So thank you for the invitation.
Well, and I'm thrilled. I know with our previous conversations, really impressive, the things that you're doing. And I think there's just so many applications for it and so many benefits in a lot of different areas. So we're excited to have you on. And I think before we freak our audience out too much, I think we should probably let them in on who you are, what you do, and then we'll take it from there. So why don't you go ahead and share that?
Sure. Well, in 5 words or less, my audience is women entrepreneurs seeking to flourish. So I know that some of the people listening on the show today are going to say, "Oh, well, I'm not a woman." However, what I'm going to share is for everybody. It's for every entrepreneur, everyone who actually is intrigued by communications. And if that's not you, then probably wouldn't be on a podcast. So I teach ambitious female founders and entrepreneurs, especially those who have a mission-inspired focus. They really want to make an impact as well as making a great living, how to have more confident conversations. So that's all about unshakable confidence. It's about sales mastery, asking for what you want and getting it, but in a way that does not bring in antiquated sales techniques like dealing with objections. It looks at science, proven science and technology that is leading edge, not bleeding, but leading edge. It's proven and it's been written up in Forbes, and there's a lot to learn by understanding more about people's personality science. So I'm drawing on my 20 plus years of senior HR work, 12 plus years of executive coaching, 30 plus years in business in 4 countries and 8 startups to bring some insights today.
Awesome. And I know that's just the beginning. That's just the scratching the surface, because I know you have a lot of experience with that, and it's kind of led you to this moment and this technology. And I love what you said there about not being about handling objections and all that kind of stuff that we've heard forever. And yeah. I know in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey 30 years ago, that's what all the books were saying. Right. Handle the objection, stay positive, all of the things. And what I love about what you're doing is it is a lot more scientific. It's really behavior science in a way, and is a whole different approach. And it instantly made sense to me when you shared it. So let's talk a little bit, maybe the foundation of, what it is that you do and how that helps. And let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure. So you can tell by my accent, I grew up in London, England, and I'm bringing my passion based on my experience growing up, which was watching my mum, actually, my first, what I call unmentor, to literally see the dignity drained right out of her by my PTSD father, who had a bullet in Dunkirk, grazed him, he came back, he wasn't treated, and it showed up as him being a very angry man. So watching him diminish my mom and constantly criticize her, and then he turned on me as well a few different times, particularly when I was 11, it caused her to lose her voice and lose her confidence. So knowing what impacted her, and then I ended up losing my voice in high school too, by, again, the criticism, the constant screaming of, you will never be successful in life, and doing things wrong and criticizing all the time. It took the wind out of my sails. So that's why I decided I was going to have a focus on helping people to begin with and learning how to have more confident conversations. So first career was sales, next was human resources, next was coaching. So I bundle all that together in my book, my best-selling book, Words, Women, and Wisdom, The Modern Art of Confident Conversations, which is actually 40 different words and word concepts, all wrapped around the power of language and how one word can shift the energy in the room and what to do in different situations to ask for what you want and get it, not using old aggressive tactics, but using the power of reciprocity, using the energy of attraction, using appreciative inquiry and concepts that some of the listeners may be familiar with, but all wrapped up in one particular book. It's this one, Words, Women, and Wisdom, The Modern Art of Confident Conversations. So that's what that's my focus. And then 2 years ago, I ran across a technology that was all about how to have even better conversations because it's based on values. And I started listening to what they were sharing about 4 different personality types. And I thought, this makes so much sense. I've interviewed and heard about 6,000 people in my career. All the time, I always said to the hiring manager, hire on values first and then train on skills, because it's easier than trying to take a round peg and put it in a square hole. You want the values of the person to match the values of your corporation. Because if I think it's black and you think it's white, we're never going to agree in the middle, it's gray. We're just going to bump heads and you're not going to have retention. Same thing in business. It's actually some science from one of the data companies, excuse me, that looked at it and said 18% of the time when you have the same values and personality style as the person that you're talking to that you want to have a sale with, 18% of the time you'll match. Well, what about the other, 72%, right? So when you have a matching value set and a matching communication and personality style, you can actually elevate that to over 72%. And that intrigued me because I'm all about helping my clients to have more sales and grow their business and be more successful. So that was the start of it. An interesting webinar, and then it morphed from there.
Yeah, and I think that it's so intriguing, and it makes me think about all the times in business or in sales or, like you say, in hiring, where when you are communicating in the right way to the right person, you just know. I mean, it clicks, it's aligned, it flows, it just feels right. And then there's other conversations that are awkward or really are not resonating, or even worse, creating resistance on one side or the other. And, I think what you're speaking to is that it's like that, 12% of the time we're getting it right, but, the rest of the time we're getting it wrong. Right. And so
18%. Yeah. So when, just to use an example, right? Never mind business for a second, but think about your kids, right? You have maybe 2 different personalities in your kids. You're about to go on summer vacation, or you just came back from summer vacation. You can see it play out. You might have an adventurous one who's ready to go zip lining and is up early and racing down the beach, and you can't, they've got ants in their pants, you can't sit still. And then you've got another child who's more traditional and structured and likes to plan things and likes to know ahead of time, what do I wear? What am I taking? Are we eating lunch? Am I packing lunch? What time will we be back? And they get frozen if they don't have all the answers. So those 2 clash. And then you're the parent, or you're 2 parents perhaps, and you have your personalities to feed in as well. And it's like that in business too. When you go into a group meeting, if you've got a big deal on the table, it's usually involving several parties. So understanding how the other person wants to get information, it's not about me anymore. It's about how can I deliver the information? Because if we're crossing our wires, and it's like me speaking French, you're speaking English, we're not communicating, we're not hearing each other. People are smart, they can make their own decision. But if they haven't even heard the message, then you've lost before you even started. That's why that number is so low. That 18% is when two personality styles match, then you have the similar values that you are making those decisions on. It makes more sense. So how do we learn how to get the rest of the other 82%? That's what I teach.
Yeah, and it just makes so much sense because, like I said, when you're winging it, when you're just guessing, when you're just going whatever with whatever is happening, you're going to be right part of the time. And
Yeah.
those are those moments where it just really clicks. It's so well aligned, and then all these other times where it's either awkward or not a good fit.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that they're not a good fit, but it might be that the communication style that you're using, or in my case, I'm using, that is really creating that. And that's what I find really intriguing about the work. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So I think now that we know, that this is happening, and I think anyone here can kind of think about a time where they've had a conversations with someone and it did not go well. Like it was not well aligned, and there was awkwardness, and communication was not happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because what you've come up with is, I think, and what you're doing is helping people be proactive about that. So
yes.
You kind of know more about that before you even get into the conversation.
Right. So I'm not the originator of the whole concept. That's a lady called Sherry Tree, who's at the beginning a very unsuccessful financial analyst, financial salesperson, who took pretty much every assessment that she could get her hands on to try to help understand more about herself, and in the process learned a little bit more about others, but not enough to say, you know what, this tool really helped me understand and make more money, make more sales in my business. And so she actually reverse engineered some concepts, played in her own experiences, and looked at what Hippocrates developed, the original father of medicine. That's where all these assessments stem from. Created her own, which takes only 90 seconds to identify someone's personality type. And it's a self-identification. So you're not guessing. You're saying, hey, here's a link. Check this out. It takes 90 seconds to assess your own personality and learn about yours plus 3 others. And it's very, very cool. It's leading edge technology, Chuck, because it sits on top of an artificial intelligence platform as well, and gives me the opportunity to go to LinkedIn, to have a meeting coming up with a senior person, LinkedIn, look at the profile, click one button, and it'll tell me the code, the personality code that profile was written in, which saves me a huge amount of time, right? Huge amount of time. I can actually do that with an email, a note, a voice to text note. I could put half my book, or probably my whole book, in there and have that coded. And the artificial intelligence looks at the language, the pauses, the empathy, the emphasis, and a whole bunch of other things, and tells me the code. Like, how cool is that?
So now going into a conversation, you already have a little bit of insight into what their value system is.
Right.
And now you are able to adjust your communication, whether it be verbal or written or whatever, that is going to be more likely to be received on the other side.
Exactly. So in each of the 4 personality codes, this is a system called BANK that I'm talking about. B stands for a blueprint personality, which is a very rigid and structured and by the rules type personality. They want to always be on time. They like structure and process and tradition, versus an action, which is the A, an action person, always grabbing the mic, front of the room, Red Bull, high energy, red carpet all the way. And nurturer, which is my primary code, which is all about people, personal growth and self-development, impact, community, harmony. And then the fourth one is knowledge. So we've got B for blueprint, A for action, N for nurturing, K for knowledge. And the knowledge is where it's looking at the big picture, but looking at data, science, and proof all the time. So if you're having a meeting with someone with knowledge personality as their primary code, you need to have your data. You have your facts. You're not just talking about it and pulling out of thin air. You have the data to back it up. Because if you don't, they won't trust anything you say. They're not going to make a quick decision anyway, because they're not driven by emotion like the nurturer action. So be prepared. Don't rush them and say, well, what's your answer? What's your answer now? Because you're going to turn them off. What would be better would be, would you like some references and some contact numbers and names for you to follow up with that? Or what would you see as your next step in our conversation, in following up and finishing our conversation? Let them tell you the process that they want to follow and what data and proof they need. And it actually worked to my advantage, because within 2 weeks, Chuck, of hearing about this technology and actually deciding I was going to enroll in coaching with this because it was so cool and so in alignment with my communications work, that I had one person who was, I think they found me on LinkedIn, reached out, wanted to hire a coach. I did the assessment with her, found out what her code was. I can now be more respectful with her because I understand what she wants and how she wants the information delivered. So a nurture knowledge personality, I knew not to rush her. So I knew she was going to ask for my references. So instead of saying, oh, well, if you're not interested, next, which I might have done before, I gave her the time to check the references and follow up that way in 2 or 3 weeks, and just keep gently providing information to help her make her decision. So it works beautifully.
Yeah, and I can see so many uses and so many applications for this. And I know you and I have talked about a lot of them. I mean, we're talking business and entrepreneurship today. We've talked about parenting. We've talked about other things, and parenting's a whole other topic, and we have a whole other show for that. Right. But I mean, we can see so many applications for this, and I found it particularly intriguing to have gone through the 90-second assessment. First of all, I'm like, yeah, right, 90 seconds. But actually, it was very, very easy to do. And it was two things for me. It was, number one, and it confirmed some things that I already knew about myself. But what was also very interesting, it was eye-opening in the sense of how I prioritized the things that matter the most to me. Mm-hmm. And it really made a lot of sense, right? And so you mentioned some of these things. So it turns out that my primary is the knowledge, but data-driven. And I've always been a data-driven marketer, a data-driven entrepreneur and business owner and marketer, and just everything by the numbers. Mm-hmm. And I even quote sayings like "the numbers don't lie" and things like that. And it just really speaks to that primary value system. And it pains me when somebody makes a claim that they can't back up. There's no evidence to support it, and because it just seems made up. And so it was very confirming that to me, I don't know that I would have made that my primary, because there's others that I probably were trying to convince myself were the primary. But it turns out, like, when I really came down to it, that's what was really most important to me. And it also gave great insight in terms of how you and I can communicate with one another. So super powerful there. And I think this is where I want to kind of bring in our theme about partnership and collaboration, because, our audience, not only are they entrepreneurs building with big dreams, building their big vision and whatever it is that they want to do, we will know that anything worth building, we're probably not going to build alone. There's going to be partnerships, collaboration, team members. There's going to be others involved. Right. So two-part question I want to ask you about that. Number one is, because I ask this of everybody, and that is, how has partnership and collaboration played a role in your business? But then let's take that a step further, and that is, how do you use bank when it comes to approaching those potential partnerships or collaborations?
Right. So how have they impacted my work? I collaborate all the time. I mean, I consider my clients to be partners of sorts because they're sharing, confidential information about what their visions and dreams are, and we talk about how we're going to get there, and that's in confidence conversation. And then when they actually go ahead and they launch their book or they launch their course or they're doing a TED talk or whatever it might be, it's just so rewarding to see things go full cycle. Another example would be with my background with HR. I interviewed and hired about 6,000 people. So I used a values tool in the past, but it wasn't this one. It wasn't as quick and accurate as this one. And I actually helped another lady who has a cybersecurity course do some training within that course specifically for women in the STEM community. So that was a great example of a collaboration where I knew what her code was. I knew the passion that she has for technology and science with her cybersecurity, and also brought together my passion for communication. So how can it serve a new audience? And that was women getting more involved with STEM and security and taking her certification. So that's been a great partnership. We're doing some more stuff together. So I think that's one really good example. And I know what is a tripwire for her, as well as a trigger, because it's all laid out in the system that I use, the bank system. Here's how you tripwire a no, trigger a yes. Here's some things to look out for. Here are some of the underlying things underneath the 12 values that are in each of those 4 personality codes. So there's a lot of deep contact and personality psychology and the science behind it. So it's a system, it's science, it's proven, and it works. And it's all about helping people communicate better. So yeah, applications in business, life, parenting, entrepreneurship, joint ventures, absolutely. So the bank approach I use, I can accurately predict how a joint venture is going to go just in the initial few seconds of having someone complete their assessment. If they're also a nurturer action like me, I don't even have to really tailor my words. I just show up being me. And then if it's a completely different personality and I still want to have the opportunity to work together, that's when I say, I really like this arrangement. So let me showcase knowledge in a different way so that we're having a clear communication. And that's my choice. It's not changing my style, it's using it smartly.
One of the things that I always tell my team and I tell some of the people in my coaching program is whenever you approach a partnership is to do your homework. And I like to do my homework on people that I am collaborating with or pursuing a partnership. It could be a partnership. It could be an acquisition. It could be a joint venture. It could be a hiring. It could be whatever it is. I like to do my homework, and that's my knowledge. That's my knowledge value, right? Because I want to know who I'm about to talk to. And of course, what do? So I go to their website and I go to their LinkedIn and I go to their Facebook and whatever else I have that's available. It seems to me that adding this takes that one step further, and that is really confirming the value systems, but then it's really doing your homework on what communication style could I use, and even how do I position my proposal in such a way where it very closely matches what they value most.
Yes. So in my proposal writing, again, knowing what the personality is of the person receiving it and making the decision, which I've usually had a conversation with ahead of time anyway. I usually, I'm more about papering deals than writing big, long proposals that then get compared with a stack of other A's or B's. But when you know who you're writing to, you bring in everything that you know about them. They want the data first. They want to know the impact first. They want to know what celebrity is using this, or how is this going to help them win more business. And that was the funny thing that Sherry discovered, was she took all these other assessments, and yeah, there's lots that have 4 codes, 4 personalities, 4 something. And And yet there was nothing that was actually specifically designed to understand about buying behavior. Why do people make buying decisions? Why do they make buying decisions differently? And this is something that's now been added onto a few other suites of tools because it's the only one that's based in biology, Buyology,
I like
not
that.
psychology, because it's about buying behavior, or in the corporate arena, which I'm doing some work this fall as well, it's about buy-in, having buy-in for an idea, a corporate imperative that we're all working towards and moving to in Q4. If you haven't bought into it, then you're not going to be excited about it. How do you share that message? Well, you can also learn how to bankify, which is where you have a little bit of every code, so you can attract your audience, no matter what their personality code, to your message, so it lands with everybody. That's getting pretty clever. So that's another course that is more advanced, but it can easily be something that you can start the process with by understanding your own style first, how you might need to adapt to meet with others, and then taking it from there.
Yeah, super valuable thing to do. I love that as part of the homework process, and really knowing who you're going to be communicating with and how they want and need to be communicated with. So it couldn't be more powerful from that regard. And we're going to let everybody know in our audience, how they can take advantage of this tool as well. And I know we have something come up, so we'll get to that in a moment. I think for now, just know that how powerful this is. And I do hope that everything that Yvonne and I have been sharing here with you, is starting to connect the dots. And if you've ever had that communication problem, or that communication gap is sometimes referred to as when you're having those conversations where it doesn't quite align, this is probably why. And this would be the tool that you would want to start to bring into your communications and your preparation for those communications. So I love that. And Yvonne, I know you have something to share at the end, and we'll definitely do that. We talked at the beginning, we have a bit of a personal growth, component to our show. And it's been a big part of my journey. I've had a lot of great mentors. I've read a lot of great books that have, really pointed me in the right direction. So, two-part question. And the first part is, who's been the most impactful for you in terms of, a leader or a mentor or someone who's been your go-to source for learning in your business that maybe others should go and check out and take advantage of as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, my current coach, my recommendation would be check out Susie Corda. So Susie is a multi-million-dollar business owner herself, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I've also in the past been a big fan of all of T. Harv Eker's work. So, Millionaire Mind and Warrior Camp and Wisdom Camp, and all of his whole series, as well as being part of Jack Canfield's group of training. So those are three of my go-tos. But when I researched my book, there were so many great nuggets. I put 175 different references in here. So references to people like Simon Sinek, Sally Hogshead with her work about fascination. Also, experiences and interviews that I'd had with people like Teresa DeGrobov for the Evolutionary Business Council, with Melinda Whitstock, who's now Podopolo. So it's sharing wisdom nuggets. So I don't know that any one person gets the credit, other than maybe when I tap in the morning to my universal energy and get downloads. I think that is one of my most powerful sources of information.
You've mentioned so many people that are absolutely amazing. And the two that stand out for me are the first two that you said. Harv was my mentor. And, if it wasn't for him, I never would have been a public speaker. I never would have got up on stage, and I would never have known the power of doing that. It wouldn't have led me to then being a guest speaker on the Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars with Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, just one thing after another that would not have happened if it was not for Harv's, um, gentle push is not really the right word.
No, he's more of
Like
an
super
action.
aggressive, get out there and do it sort of push. But it was needed at the time, and it really helped. You talked about confidence earlier. That was a big confidence boost for me, and he really helped me to see that. And then Susie, I got had the pleasure of meeting Susie Carter about 2.5 years ago. And she is just an amazing, amazing human being. And we hope to have her on this show really, really soon as well. But two wonderful people to check out. Really, everyone you mentioned, notable for all their own reasons, right? But those two really stood out for me. Another part of self-growth and learning and all of that is books. And there's so much great information written in books. You've mentioned your book already, and we're going to make sure that we link to that in the show notes. And if there was a book that you've read that was written by someone else that was impactful for you and would be on your must-read list, do you have one that you recommend?
I do. I have one that I've recommended more to my clients than any other book. Not because it's, I had a book club at one point that, I read a lot, but I recommend this one all the time. It's called Attracting Perfect Customers, The Power of Strategic Synchronicity. It's Stacey Hole and Jan Brozhnev. And the reason I like that is because it really is putting the clarity on who are you trying to attract in your business and what do they expect of you? So it takes it deeper than just looking at, what's your marketing line and your lingo going to be, but putting it back on you and saying, what do they expect of you and how do you need to show up, or how do you need to change, or perhaps be doing something different in order to attract them? And that wasn't something that I had thought of when I first started reading the book. And yet it's so impactful. Little story, I actually used this book to attract my husband. So wow. what I did was I crossed out attracting perfect customers and I put perfect guy, because at the time I was recently unmarried, and I did all the 4 steps. I made my list of all of my ideal guy qualities, and he actually showed up within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we've been married 16 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
So clarity. It's kind of like if you decide you want to buy a condo, everywhere you go, you see for sale signs. They're just popping up like mushrooms. And they were there yesterday before you made the decision to buy, but your reticular activating system now funnels it in because it's information important to you right now. Same thing when you make your list of all your perfect client qualities. What are they looking for? What do they expect of you, etc.? And then you can see them much quicker, and they see you quicker because you become what they say in the book is you become the lighthouse standing firmly on the beach, beaming out your message, instead of running up and down the beach like crazy, flapping your arms, saying, hey, boats, come on in, because that is just what everybody else is doing right now. There's so much noise in the marketplace. So be clear, be resonant, be solid, be seen as the expert in your field. And that's what the Law of Attracting Perfect Customers book is about.
That is such a powerful thing. And it wasn't that book. There was another one that I had read called Write It Down, Make It Happen, where very, very similar thing. And that it to me, I look at it as just getting really, really clear, but it really just, it kind of aligns your thoughts and aligns your awareness. And it's like what you said, it's like you're looking for a house for sale. Those houses for sale were already there. But now that you've aligned your thoughts to that, now you can see them. Whereas before you didn't really notice them. And so that can, I love that it can happen in relationships as well. And it was a similar process that where I found my wife. I don't think it was 2 weeks, but it was quick after the process. So it's amazing. You can do that in business. You can do that with customers. You can do that with life partners. You can do that with so many, many things. And so that is a very, very powerful recommendation. I've not read that book, but it's going on my must-read list. And eventually there's going to be a compilation show where we're going to take all of these wonderful book recommendations that everybody has made and put those together into the must-read list. So thank you for that. And we have a streak right now. Nobody has recommended the same book twice, and you've kept the streak alive. So thank you for that.
Woohoo! You can do it. You can do it for your perfect JV partner too.
Right. Like, so you can like get clear about all the qualities that you're looking for. And again, just aligning your awareness to what you're looking for. Right. And so,
yeah, because as soon as you are clear about it, you will see it. Right. You decide you want to buy I don't know, a black Volvo. Everywhere you go, you suddenly start seeing black Volvos. Same thing. They were there all along, but now it's like in front of you. I want one, right? It's right there. I see it. Now, how am I going to get it? Right.
Fantastic recommendation. Well, Yvonne, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I shared so much great information, and thank you so much for doing that. So we teased a little earlier that we talked about the assessment, and I know you've got a gift for everybody here. So maybe tell everybody kind of what it is and where they can connect with you. And we will link to whatever you mentioned here. We'll make sure we link in the show notes and beneath the video, wherever it is here. But let everybody know what you've got and how they can best way to reach you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, what I would like to offer to your audience is a taste. Like, check this out. It's huge fun. It takes 90 seconds to do, and it will send you, if you look at four cards, 4 sets of 12 values on each one, and prioritize them based on what's most and least important to you, and then the two in between fall into place. You'll get a report back that's almost 20 pages that tells you all about you and the other 3 styles and what makes them tick. So that's the gift. It's a $97 value that I'd like to give to you as friends of Chuck. And there'll be a link in the show notes on how to get a hold of it. You can also reach out to me. I mean, reach out on LinkedIn. You can connect with me through my website, yvonnesilver.com. There's a contact page on there. And check it out, because it's 90 seconds that literally could change so much, because it's all about powerful communications. And that's what we do in business. That's what we do in life. And that's how we make friendships and alliance partners and so much more.
Love it, love it, love it. And thank you, Yvonne. That's super generous. And we do want to make sure that people, go and check that out. So to my listeners, go and do it right now. Go and click the link there and go try it out. You're going to be amazed. You might even learn a thing or two about yourself in the process. I know I did, and it was super amazing. Yvonne, thank you so much. This has been a great session. I know we could spend all day doing this, and you and I have had several conversations, and we didn't meet all that long ago, but when you connect, you connect. And that's just really amazing. I know we've got more that we'll do together in the future. So before we kind of like bring this episode in for a landing, if there was just one final piece of advice, word of wisdom that you could leave our audience with today, what would you tell them?
I would say that your words matter. Your words really do matter. Just one word can either destroy somebody or elevate and inspire them. So please pick your words carefully, whether that's as a business partner, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, spouse, husband, mother, parent. Your words really do matter. So think about which ones you're going to use. Maybe even an example of should to could. I mean, it has that tone of obligation when it's should and heaviness. And could is all about possibility and lightness. So what could we do together?
Love it. That's so true. And I've experienced that many times in my life. So fantastic advice. Yvonne, thank you. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Please go click the link, go check out Yvonne's free gift. It's amazing. You're going to be glad that you did that. And look, it's free. So why wouldn't you do it?
It's free to you. Yeah. As a guest.
Exactly. Free to you, not to everyone else. So take advantage of that, because who knows, maybe that offer won't always be there. So go and do that today. And make sure you come back here for the next episodes. We have other amazing guests and so many more things planned for you and in store. And in the meantime, keep pursuing that big dream. Keep going for it. Keep moving forward. Be awesome. And we'll see you here for the next one.
Thank you so much, Chuck.